The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife presents How to Fish for Trout in Oregon. Bobber fishing for trout is one of the most commonly used techniques for very good reason, because it not only allows you to keep your gear above the bottom structure, but it's also effective for active and moving feeding fish. It's also one of the most easiest rigs to set up, so let's go into that right now. First, we're going to take our size 8 bait holder hook and simply tie it to our main line. Now we're going to add a split shot. We're going to place it 12 to 18 inches above our hook. Right about 12 inches right here. Place your split shot on either side of your line, just like so. Now we're going to pinch it tight using our pliers here. That way it doesn't slide up and down our line, it stays in the same spot. There we go. Now our split shot is attached 12 to 18 inches above our hook. Now it's time to attach the bobber. There are two types of bobbers that are commonly used for trout. Your typical red and white one that you see most commonly used, where it's attached to both the top and the bottom, or your pencil style bobber, which has a spring or a rubber stopper. We're going to show you how to attach both of them. Let's start with the red and white. First, you're going to start with the bottom side of the red here. Push down on this top button, push it down, you'll see a little hook comes out. Put your line inside the hook, release the button. Now it's attached. Now to make it sit straight up and down, with the white side up, you're going to take two fingers, with your thumb on the bottom, keep that hook from moving, and press down. You'll see this hook here comes up. You're going to take your line that's closest to the rod tip, put it underneath that hook, and let go. Now, your bobber's attached straight up and down. It's ready to be used. Now let's show you how to use the pencil style bobber. These are very easy. Slide the spring up, like so. You can see there's a little gap where you can put your main line in. Slide your main line in, and clip it closed. That's it. Bobbers allow us to decide how deep our bait will be fishing. The closer you put your bobber to your weight and your hook, the shallower it's going to be. The further up you put it, the deeper it's going to be. Now, what we want to be careful of is to make sure that our bait is up off the bottom. So in a situation like this behind me, it's a little bit shallow with weed line. So I'm only going to put it about 2 or 3 feet down because I don't want my bait sitting in the weeds or on the bottom. When you want to adjust the depth of your bait, it's very simple. All you need to do on these spring-loaded bobbers, slide the spring up and slide the bobber further up your line. And now we're set deeper. You can always go a little bit deeper if you just want to try a different depth, again making sure your bait's off the bottom, or if you're on a steeper shoreline, like along big steep banks or rocks or near a dam. Now that we have our bobber attached and our depth determined, we're going to add our bait. There's two types of bait that work really well for trout. First, it's going to be our eggs. These are just typical salmon eggs that have been broken apart into single pieces. There they are. With these single eggs, we can add 2 or 3 baits to our single hook. Start with one here. And we're going to take the point of the hook and just put it right in the center of the egg. Put it all the way through. Slide it up. Now let's grab the second one. Same deal. Point of the hook through the egg. Slide it up and around. And there we have it. Nice tasty looking treat. The other commonly used bait are worms. Now we don't need to use the whole worm to get these trout to bite. Remember, these fish are generally 6-8 inches up to about 15-16 inches. So we're going to use a smaller bait. So what you're first going to do, dig around in the dirt, find yourself a worm. And although you can use the whole worm, we want to make sure that these fish are able to get their mouth around the bait. So what we're going to do is cut off a small piece, just about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of the bait. Put the worm between your fingers and pinch. That'll give you a nice little bait to use right here. Now that we have our bait, we're going to go ahead and take our size 8 bait holder hook and we're going to thread the worm onto the hook. To do that, you start with the pinched end where it's open up. Put the hook point through the pinched end. Slide it about halfway up the hook shank, and then pull your hook point out of the worm, just like that. And now we're just going to slide the worm up the hook just a little ways, and there's our bait, ready to go. Now that we have our bobber rig all set up, it's time to go fishing. Right now I have my depth set at about 2 feet. And the reason is because I can see right here from this bank that it's a shallow shoreline and extends way out there, and I'm worried about my bait laying on the bottom or getting caught on weeds. So I've set it at 2 feet, and now it's time to cast. So what I'm gonna do, let it swing away from my body, reel up so it's about a foot away from the rod tip, put my finger over the line, open the bail, and place it over my shoulder. Now once it gets back there, I want to make sure it's not twisting and spinning around. If we make a sidearm cast, because the bobber, the split shot, and the worm all have a different weight to them, it'll twist up and get tangled and we won't be fishing. So make sure everything's straight up and down before you cast. Now using 2 hands again, make a pendulum motion and make your cast. Once the bobber gets out there, don't come tight on it. Pull out a little bit of line, then click your bail over. We want our bobber sitting straight up and down. If we come tight on the bobber and it starts to move, then it's not fishing effectively. So again, keep your bail open, pull a little bit of line out, and make sure that your bobber is sitting straight up and down. Now, just kick back, relax, and wait to see that go under.